stolen?
Yeah, that's his whole backstory, is that he was stolen from his
Oh,
family.
I thought he was
It
stolen
comes
in
up.
game.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
no,
no,
but I
no,
mean,
no,
like, I
no,
thought he
no.
was, like, stolen from, like, someone in the city, and I was like, "Wait,
No.
wait, wait, wait. Was I just way too high for that game? Do I
No,
not
no,
remember
no, no,
that?"
no. No.
Oh, Cliff's giving us a thumbs up.
We're finally good.
Yeah?
We're streaming.
Yay! We'll talk about this later then.
No
Freaking
worries.
long enough.
Oh my gosh. Uh, although while we were on that topic, I found an article where I get all of my articles, of course, on the Googles. Um, and it was talking about magic systems and magic systems in fantasy writing, because of course I have looked up enough, like, oh, how to be a good fantasy writer, that now Google is just sending me articles like this. And because I'm pathetic.
No.
Anywho, so it was the different kinds of magic systems that people use in their fantasy writing. And I like to think that my fantasy system is a soft fantasy system, meaning there's not a lot of rules in my story, and as opposed to like in D&D, where you have very specific rules for how magic works in the world and in the universe. And since our topic today is influences, like, what kind of things do you guys look for in your magic systems? Like, what influences do you guys go for, and what influences do you guys kind of shy away from, that kind of makes your path and your craft work for you? I didn't mean for that to be such a conundrum.
Well, no, I had to actually, like, think about that because, I don't really necessarily think about it when something influences me all the time. Sometimes I do if it's really, like, a heavy influence or it really impacts me. But there's a lot of things I do that I don't realize has been influenced by something else. I feel like that's with everything, kind of, because I guess technically you say that for everything because you don't know everything right off the bat. So everything you're kind of influenced. But
Right.
I feel like whenever I'm influenced by something, it's usually something that has a very strong impact with me. Like something that's obviously has something to do with me, but not necessarily me, but the people around me and like my community too. Like how can I better myself, but not only me, but like help the people around me. So like when I look for something in the craft, it's usually like when I cook a lot of food for people. How can I make better food? Don't always do it, but when I go to cook, I always grab the book so I can find the best herbs for the shit that I want to cook. It's like if I want to, do something for like better health, this better protection, whatever, I'll do that. And I guess like anything that's positively affecting the community really impacts me. But then on the opposite end of the scale, if it's really, you got I guess people call the negative impacts, I guess. The things, I guess it'd be negative, but things that make me more reevaluate myself. And like, the word. What is it? Not self-care, but
Right.
betterment. So usually those are the type of influences I look for. Within my craft is also self-betterment. How can I better myself, but also still, do the craft too, and do whatever. I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second, how I was going to word it. So my brain just doesn't know how to word it properly. But basically, I try to look for things that like, well, yes, craft-based, but how am I going to like make better habits with this? Or how am I going to consistently do this? Or how am I going to just make me a better person for me and my community and the people around me, my close-knit community? Not necessarily random people I don't know, because I have an issue with some people. Customer service has made me sour. But I think with it's a lot of like I use the internet a lot because it's available, but I've very recently, the last couple of years since meeting you and meeting Cliff and meeting Talon and meeting a lot of other people who I've been more open with my craft and my path, and like instead of saying like no I'm atheist, you know, or whatever, I don't do anything, instead of being scared like in the broom closet or whatever, I've been more open, and I found that a lot of people are not part of the main like 5 religions they follow. They might be pagans too or whatever, and they've now been influencing me a lot. Like you guys have influenced me a lot and made me research a lot more too.
Mhm.
You guys are very big influences in my life for my path and my craft.
I'm sorry.
No,
Makes me
don't.
all like,
You showed me great music, so shut the fuck up right there. That was beautiful. I listen to that shit on my way to work. I'm like, yes, I'm ready to open this goddamn store. It's 6 in the morning, and I'm just listening to Wardruna, and I'm like, yes, this is the shit. I love it. So I appreciate you guys a lot for influencing me in many ways. So especially you, Christina Lynn, ever since like opening up to you back at HealthNet, and like, because I was very nervous even saying like that, like I was even like, I'm a little bit of a witch. Like I was just like, yes, I'm spooky. Like I was just like, oh, am I gonna have to like quit my job? And I was just like, because you never know. But it made me feel more open to learning and experimenting more, and looking into different paths and crafts. Because I was very just kind of Wiccan based then. I didn't really know much about anything else. And like closed practices, like I kind of knew about them and stuff. And like this podcast has really made me open my eyes to a lot of different things. So our podcast is an influence.
okay.
Oh yeah, sorry I rambled. I'll let Cliff go now.
So let's go back to my freshman year in high school. We can actually go back further, but I'll start with my freshman year in high school. I had an English teacher. His name was Mr. Covington. He introduced me to King Arthur and the Arthurian legends and mythology. I was already reading a lot of fantasy. I read The Lord of the Rings and the Chronicles of Narnia and stuff like that, and I had started getting into like Dungeons and Dragons novels and stuff like that. But he turned me on to King Arthur, and that was one of the single most influential points in my life as far as what path I was going to walk, because of the Mists of Avalon. To be perfectly honest, the shamanism and the naturalistic magic that was portrayed in those books is what I wanted to explore and find out more about. Fast forward a few years, I got my first basically magic book, I guess if you want to call it. It was called The Way of the Shaman. It was a Llewellyn Press book. I got it about, I think I still have it, but the book itself is close to 30 years old, I think. That's when I got it. And that started setting me on the path of exploring more Native American stuff and more Celtic stuff. And then I got into Carlos Castaneda and his books about Don Juan, the Native American shaman. And then I met my best friend Mark, and he got me into you call it the darker side of things, but I don't really consider it the darker side of things. He got me into Aleister Crowley and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Learning more Hermetic spirituality and a little bit of Kabbalah and numerology, and I started exploring more stuff like by John Dees and Franz Barden. And if you don't know, Dr. John Dees was Elizabeth I's personal astrologist, cosmologist, and doctor.
John Dees.
Yeah, Dees.
Like D's nuts without the nuts.
I was gonna say it, but shit. John Dees nuts. Damn, my nephews are obsessed with that.
But in between, like, the ages of 15 and 25, I read everything that I could possibly get my hands on that was King Arthur related. All the fantasy novels that came out, the historical fiction novels. I read some archaeological stuff on it. I started getting more into Celtic mythology and learning about the mythology behind King Arthur, and stuff like that. And that has, kind of brought me to where I am. And then, I've got, other friends that I've done circles with and stuff like that have influenced me as well. We'll leave them nameless for now. But yeah, that's basically what it boils down for me.
I have to say that my interest in Western European craft, we'll say that, okay? Western European craft was peaked after my introduction to craft. I would say that because I felt almost exactly like you did, Cliff. Like Arthurian legend. I think I still actually have a copy of the Once and Future King in my library. It was gifted to me by someone else, in fact, who was just like, "Oh, I saw this and I knew you were into King Arthur," and I was like, "Yeah, fuck right I am." But that was actually later. That was when I was in high school, and by the time I was in high school, I was already on my path. But I fell into the Arthurian legend because I wanted to know more about the spirituality of the craft, if that makes sense. And I felt like that was probably a good place to start. Hint, it was not. But before that, it was actually, practical magic. There was a time when I remember looking at my mother and telling her that I believed myself to be a witch because certain things were just happening around me. And like, without a doubt, that shit was happening. But the little, 8-year-old Mormon girl didn't really know what the fuck she was talking about. And it wasn't until later that I actually really deep dived into written works and maybe the mythology and the practice and stuff like that. My Arthur and Camelot and Mists of Avalon in particular came later. The first book I read, though, that I like my soul connected with was also fiction. It was by an author, a YA author named Tamara Pierce. And the book title was In the Hands of the Goddess. And I must have read that book. This was like 8th grade. Must have read that book about 12 times during that school year. And like the first chapter, the character, she's on a journey. She's like 17, maybe 17. She's
Perfect
in the
YA content.
right. She was in the forest. She met a cat, a little black cat with purple eyes, and the goddess spoke to her, and I was just like, yes, I want to be a vessel for the goddess. And like I said, I read that book so many times that at one point the librarian was like, you should just go out and buy a copy. And I eventually did. At the ripe old age of 22, I was able to buy the entire series. That book was actually not the first book. That was the second book. And that was like when I started getting into actual paths. Like that book made me want to connect with the divine in a way that I'd never done it before. I started, like a lot of us do when we start our craft, we have these ideas of what's going to happen, even if it's absolutely ridiculous, and it is. Every single one of us have always, like, when we start, we're like, this is shit's gonna go down. I'm gonna be all powerful and I will make my enemies quake in their boots. And then we realize that we live in the natural world, not the supernatural world, and that shit doesn't actually happen that way. It takes time. And yes, manifestation works, but I'm not calling down the fucking heavens to strike my enemies dead.
Why not?
That was a pill to swallow at the ripe old age of 12. What do you mean? So even even now when people are like, no, this shit happens for me. And I'm like, yeah, please get on the back of the bus. We know we're all going to Crazy Town. You're not, like I have a limit when people start spouting that kind of stuff. It's a very small limit. If I were Tifa, my limit break would be every 30 seconds, I feel like. I do, like, it with wisdom, we learn how to deal with things, and I've gotten better at my customer service face when shit like that comes up.
Working at HealthNet almost ruined my customer service face because it was on the phone, and every time someone would say something, I would just be like, oh, I'd love to do that for you. So it's kind of hard. Luckily, I have a mask on during work, so I can still go like, yeah, I'd love to help you.
Yeah. So, yeah. Fantasy novels definitely influenced my early craft and my early path. However, these days, I mean, I haven't taken the time that I probably should to continuously evolve my path or my craft for that matter. I know that's not probably the best way to, develop myself, because like we've said before, it takes time. We all work on ourselves in our own methods and our own at our own pace. And I recognize that maybe I've put my learning on the back burner. It's probably why I'm not the greatest mentor right now towards you, Kayla, and I apologize. I will do better.
For you.
It's
okay. I
You
haven't
know,
been the best mentee, so
I mean,
it's okay.
life has gotten the last couple of years have been pretty difficult. And some people have been able to use that time to better themselves and learn, and and some of us are just like, fuck it, I'm gonna get stoned, I'm gonna put on 30 pounds, and I'm not gonna do what know I want to do or need to do. I'm talking about me. I'm those people. uh I'm not pointing at anybody else but myself. I am most definitely those people.
This is a graph right now of my mental state. This is like 5 years ago, and this is health net getting the job. Yee, fuck that job. Better now.
Right.
That's my mental state. So I just
I'm
want to let you
I'm
know.
I'm hoping that 2022 is better. Um I mean, I think I shared with you that there are a couple of new books that I'm going to try and get my hands on. Apparently they're pretty expensive and pretty rare.
You
And then
shared them, but share them again because
I
they're
will.
all the way
I'm
back.
going to put them in the general chat. Everyone, anybody who's actually like interested can look at these. I apologize, I'm getting over a cold still. But yeah, like so there are things like we were talking about this at work today, like signs, that honestly, when when the universe puts something in my way, that's when I like wake up and take notice. You know? Like, yeah, a couple of people will tell me, "Oh, you should read this," or something like that, but until the universe actually like shoves it in my damn face, I know I'm that bitch that needs to take a hint. Okay? I'm listening to that universe. I'm trying. I may not be doing very well, but know that I'm going to try and pick up on your
You're doing the best.
I'm doing
You're
the
only
best.
human, you know?
Right. And sometimes I just think that, it's wishful thinking on my part, you know? It's not necessarily what I need to be doing. It's just, my mind playing tricks on me.
The mind has a funky way of doing shit like that, though.
It does. It really does.
I mean, when I was learning about anxiety,
Mhm.
because I didn't know this at first. That I mean, you don't obviously, but you learn it. But the fight or flight, that's like basically anxiety is like your fight or flight is super enhanced. Like you're basically like in that kind of state. And so your
Really?
body's like, I gotta fight or I gotta fly, bitch. We gotta go, or we gotta fucking kill something. Your amygdala, right?
Amygdala?
I like amygdala. It's like amygdala, like amygdala, and amygdala.
Amygdala.
Amygdala. It just sounds better. I know. Get away. It's like with chitin. I know it's chitin, but it's chitin. It sounds funnier. No,
God.
watching some streamer, and he did that too. It was on some
Oh my
ARC
God.
stream. So shout out to the ARC streamer. Fucking chitin, not chitin. But basically that bitch works like overtime.
Okay.
And after I learned that, I got my shit under control for
Yeah.
anxiety. But I completely, after that laugh session I just had, I forgot where this train was going.
We're talking about fight or flight, anxiety, fight or flight.
Yeah.
And
but basically that's where it came from. Sorry, I interrupted you. My bad.
that's all good. Yeah, I mean, this well, I mean, everybody in the world knows, okay? Even those deniers know that the last couple of years have been just absolute shit. Okay? I will say that it probably started about 2016, but that's me.
What year? No. 2015, because that's when the election started.
But that's my personal thing, like that's just me,
Like the last decade.
it's been, and I think because everyone has had that disconnect. Like we've all, I mean, for Christ's sake, we're doing a podcast over YouTube right now, instead of like hanging out, uh we're chatting over the internet. Because there was such a disconnect, I think that everybody is trying to just do better, and that allows influencing of the different media and the different mediums to just become that much more potent. You know what I mean? Like the friend that we had on, Matt. Okay, like I went over and I actually got a massage, and I need to go back because, I have a couple of those saved up from him. And we just sat for an hour and a half talking because we hadn't gotten that chance in so long. Like I think that was one of the issues with when he came to speak with us, is that he and I just went off on tangents because we don't, I mean, everyone has had this stark lack of connectivity.
Yeah.
It bugs me. It does bug me. I'm not gonna lie.
We should start actually meeting up at least like once a month then. At least. More connectivity.
And then again, I have, people at work that just like I deal with them so much that when I come home, Brett's like, "Oh, you want to go do something?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm sitting here and I'm reading my Kindle. That's what I want to do."